What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Chef. We are back, and you already know what time it is. It is time for the YAK Pod, episode number 66. Now, you can see what that thumbnail said, and you know what we are about to get into today. We are going to be talking about the draft. And we're going to be talking specifically about one pick. And hopefully I'm going to have some special guests coming on later in the week, and then we will get to the other picks. What is up, though? Just a fan. Appreciate you coming to hang out. Now, if you saw the thumbnail, I did episode 55. So that was 11 episodes ago, where I talked about the bridge to Terrion Arnold. I wanted to call it the bridge to Terrion Bethia, but I wasn't sure if everybody would get it, because I don't know, if you haven't seen Bridge to Terabithia, you don't get it. You don't really know what I'm talking about. But before we get into the Terrion Arnold pick, for those of you that were with me during the draft, I did have a reaction. I had a reaction, and I want to show you what my reaction was before the Terrion Arnold pick. It wasn't the Terrion Arnold pick that I had a reaction to. I actually had no reaction to the Terrion Arnold pick. And I'm going to tell you why. I had no reaction to the Terrion Arnold pick because I was completely destroyed when the Rams picked Jared Verse at number 19. This was me. You ready?
I'm trying to pray, but where are you? I'm all churched out, hurt and abused. I can't fake what's left to do.
So that was a live look at me during the draft when the Rams picked Jared Verse. And admittedly, it took me quite some time to get over it. But I got over it unexpectedly last night. Last night I was in the gym and I was listening to Terrion Arnold on the Rich Eisen show, and he was talking about his journey. And he was talking about how his mom had him young, and he just had that dog mentality from a young age. I think there was a video of him as an 8-year-old talking about how, he was going to go to the NFL. He talked about his grandfather being a roofer, and how when he was up there on that roof, he had to get that confidence, because if you don't have any confidence and you slip and fall off that 2-story house, that's not going to be pretty. So he talked about these things, talked about his time with Coach Saban and how he was, and how he handles adversity. And unexpectedly, I was just kind of cheered up about this pick. Now, again, I wasn't bummed about the pick. I wasn't appropriately excited, right? I wanted to be excited because obviously our draft was fantastic. We got Brad Holmes looking at all the fans and saying, don't you ever talk about our secondary depth again. Just don't do it, because I'm going out here and I'm getting these pieces. I wasn't thrilled with Ennis Registraw being picked at number 29, but being picked at 61. I mean, what other value could you have asked Brad Holmes to get? He did also say that he was trying to trade up in the 3rd round to the high 30s. So he was trying to get back up to the top of the 3rd round. Or was it, I'm sorry, the 2nd round. Sorry, the 2nd round. I said high 30s and I said 3rd round. No. In the 2nd round, he was trying to trade up to the high 30s. I think the pick there would have been a defensive lineman if he was able to do it. I don't think he was trying to trade up that far to get Registrar. So he was probably targeting a Marshawn Nealon or a Drazon Newton, who, let's talk, look, the Falcons, I have no idea what they were doing. The Michael Penix pick was interesting. And then to take Rook Orahoraho, okay, over Drazon Newton was just, it was malfeasance. It was utter ridiculousness that they decided that that's what they were going to do. I know there was the video of Arthur Blank coming down to the war room and just telling their GM, look, man, you're going to have to explain yourself. What were you thinking exactly drafting Michael Penix? And you can see he's like, well, he didn't have a good explanation. I understand in theory, the pick made sense in theory, but in practicality, it made zero sense. You've created a situation where there's now tension in the quarterback room. Kirk Cousins seems like he's either a really good actor or this is just really who he is. He seems like he's a really good guy. He's all shucks, gee golly type of guy. Doesn't really get too flustered about things. But we've seen the chip on the shoulder Kirk Cousins. We've seen the you like that Kirk Cousins. We've seen the fun-loving Kirko Chains. We've seen the singing Kirk Cousins. So, but now we get the chance to see angry Kirk Cousins because I'm angry at the organization who I just signed with. Now, I'm not going to cry any tears for Kirk Cousins. I think he's got like $180 million guaranteed. And you just came off of a torn Achilles and you're 35? He's no spring chicken. So, I get it. I understand it. But the part that you don't understand is the fact that Michael Penix was in college for 6 years and had 4 season-ending injuries. He had 4 of them. 2 upper body and 2 lower body. It's not like, it wasn't spread around. No, the body's spread around. His body is being held together by athletic tape and chewing gum. Okay, that's just what's happening with Michael Penix. And then at the same time, he's also 24. So he's not a spring chicken either. So if you're going to have him sit for a year or two, he's going to be, 25, 26 heading or 25 going on 26 heading into the next season. Cause I think he will soon be 25. So you've got a situation out there in, Atlanta, but shout out to the Atlanta Falcons. And like I said, so Brad Holmes already said he was trying to trade up into the high to mid or the mid to low 30s in order to get someone up there. But the value that he got, obviously, in that cornerback room is fantastic. Brad Holmes, if we look at the entirety of this offseason, has bolstered the defensive starting and the defensive depth in one offseason. If you look at all the free agent signings, the Amik Robertson, the Carlton Davis trade, you brought back Kendall Vildor. Now, again, Kendall Vildor, he wasn't supposed to be out there in the NFC Championship game. That's just the meat and potatoes of the situation. That's the reality. He was not supposed to be out there. You don't want that guy playing meaningful snaps. But it was what it was. So you look at the draft picks, Terrion Arnold, which is what we're here to talk about. You look at Ennis Registrar. You look at Sione Vake. Okay, now Sione Vaki, I watched his tape one time, and he became one of my favorite players in the draft. We all know who my very favorite player was, which is why the live look at me earlier, crying in the shower. I mean, bro, when I tell you I was done with the draft when the Rams picked Jared Verse, I was done with the draft. Like, I legitimately have never had that reaction of a player getting picked. I just did not care. I knew Brad Holmes was going to make great picks. I knew he was going to get great value. I'm here to tell you right now, I did not care. I didn't care. But anyway, so we know who my favorite player in the draft was. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get him, and it's just not fair. It's not fair that the Rams move off of Aaron Donald, who retired, and then they get a Jared Verse. It's just not fair. But we gifted them Aaron Donald, but that's neither here nor there because we had to have Eric Ebron. But anyway, so the overall value of what he did in this draft is fantastic. I saw a tweet on Twitter, and I'll get into this later. Just the preposterousness of this tweet that said somebody thought that Sione Vake was brought in to replace. Chat, who do you think that they said that Sione Vake was brought in to replace? I'm gonna let the chat have a couple guesses before I reveal the preposterousness of this situation. Who do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. You get one guess. Just a fact. Give me a guess, man. Just throw out a preposterous name. Who do you think that this guy said Sione Vake was coming in? No, not Hutch. Remember, Sione Vake is Kirby Joseph is a good guess, but that wouldn't have been preposterous. David Montgomery. David Montgomery. Bro, I got off Twitter. I closed the app and I just put my phone down. Yeah. That was very crazy. Obviously that was a guy that didn't know anything about football. He will be used for offense. He's going to be a wrinkle in Ben Johnson's offense. One of the things that I love about Sione Vake is that he plays safety, which is when you're in the box, this is a position that covers running backs. So he's also a running back. He's also very familiar with the routes because he ran routes as a running back. I think he said he averaged like 10 yards per touch. He was getting to the outside. He was running by safeties and linebackers on those wheel routes, scoring touchdowns and things of that nature. So he already knows what a running back is going to do when he comes out of the backfield. He knows if he's going to run a wheel by the way that he breaks down at the top of his route, or he already knows these things. He knows the alignments. He knows what's going to happen. So that makes him a very not only versatile, but a very important part of covering running backs and things of this nature. But obviously, he's going to start out on special teams, and he's going to be a weapon in Ben Johnson's offense. You said a fill-in running back when Gibbs needs a break, possibly. I think it's going to be more so like, particular packages. I don't know that he's going to fill in. We have to see like what happens with Craig Reynolds. I mean, Craig Reynolds is a glue guy. He's just one of those guys that won't die. You know what I mean? But it's not like he's bad. He's not a Will Harris. Will Harris was a guy that just wouldn't die, but he was terrible. And he's offered nothing to the team. He offered special teams, but when he came in on defense, we already knew it was going to be a long day. So, yeah, looking forward to what they do. Me too. You know, like I said, so Sione Vaki was one of my favorite players in the draft. But Terrion Arnold. Let's get to Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold. In my episode 55, as I said, I called it Bridge to Terrion Arnold. I wanted, I was trying to make a play on Bridge to Terabithia. I pretty much was talking about, and if you go watch the episode and look at from the 5th minute, I was talking about what we would have to do to get Terrion Arnold. I knew he would absolutely not be there at 29. That's no surprise. I didn't know what we would have to give up. I thought that we would have to trade up into the mid-teens in order to get him. But fantastically, what worked out for us was this was the most offensive-heavy draft in the history of the NFL. I think it was the first 13. Raiders drafted Brock Bowers. Then the Saints drafted a tackle. Then the Colts drafted. Who did the Colts draft? Does anybody remember? The Colts drafted. Did they draft a receiver? No, the Colts drafted Latu. So the first defensive player to be picked was Latu, which I thought was crazy. I thought it was crazy that Latu's going to be ordinary. I don't think he's going to be a star. I was never super high on Latu because of his neck injury. But if you look at someone to dominate right and left tackles, I think that guy's going to be Jared Verse. Now, obviously, with Dallas Turner going in the division, that scares me. Let's see. Yeah. That was all of the Colts draft picks, yeah. So that scares me with Dallas Turner, because if you look at Brian Flores and all the exotic things that he likes to do on defense, we are going to have to locate Dallas Turner at all times. Dallas Turner's the mic. You just got to know where he's going to be, because he's going to be able to wreak havoc on offenses when they're blitzing him, stunting him, running all types of games with him, putting him, they'll probably drop him in the coverage at times. They're going to have him rushing, stand up. I don't think he's going to have his hand in the dirt a ton. He probably will. But for him to come off, again, he's kind of slight of build. So for him to just line up in straight, bull rush, offensive tackles in the NFL, it's going to be interesting to see how they deploy him. But because he is so versatile, because he's so fast, he's got decent power, I think he's going to be an issue in the NFL for a long time. So for him to be drafted, and you could see, like, he was muttering to himself and all types of stuff. He just wasn't happy when he was drafted at number 17 overall. And the last thing that I want is a Dallas Turner with a chip on his shoulder, a motivated Dallas Turner that we have to see twice a year because now he's in our division. That wasn't something that I was in favor of, but it was what it was. So now that we look at at those guys coming off the board. And I had a feeling, because when Dan Campbell was on 97.1 the ticket, I say that he tipped his hand, because he was talking about if you get one of those top 15 guys, you're going to be in good shape. And the drop off after the top 15 guys was pretty much significant. It was very significant. So I just thought, when he said, now, if our guy's not there at 29, don't be surprised if we trade back. I was like, that's a bunch of baloney. You're not trading back, and you're not sitting there at 29, because you just said the top 15 guys, especially now when the top 15 shook out with one defensive player. When it shook out that way and you had one defensive player go in the top 15, I just was like, okay, when is the trade up going to happen? And the crazy part is now I'm going to have to express some relief, okay? Like, when I really look at the situation, if Jared Verse and Terrion Arnold are there and you pass on Jared Verse to take Terrion Arnold, then I have a really hard time with that pick. You know what I mean? I have a really hard time with that pick. I understand that we have James Houston. I don't dislike Marcus Davenport, but I'm not counting on his health. If that makes any sense. And I'm pretty sure it makes perfect sense, right? I'm not counting on the health of Jared, what is his name? Marcus Davenport. Hold on, let me share this stream. I'm really bad at sharing my streams. I should be doing this more often, but I always forget to do it. And then, like, I'll do it after the stream is done. So I have to get better at doing this from the start of the stream, right before I go live. Sharing it on Twitter so that I can get more people coming in to interact. All right. One more. All right, and we're good. So anyway, when we look at that, like, had the scenario played out a different way, like I said, I would have had a problem with that pick. And it's not because of Terrion Arnold being less than, you know what I mean? But like I said, with Marcus Davenport, I don't trust his health. Yeah, me too, just a fan, yeah, neither one of us is Brad Holmes. That's why I'm saying, like, just a fan, would you have been upset if Verse and Terrion were there and he took Terrion? Because I don't know if like I said, I wouldn't have been able to process that. I probably would have been. So you would have been upset with that, yeah. So I would have been like, because it's a good pick, and but I would have had a problem understanding how that would be best player available, because I think just the value of what Jared Verse brings is more valuable than Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold is in a situation where he's competing with other people. He's competing in a room, and it's a very stacked room, and it's a room full of dogs, and the cream is going to rise to the top. But if you were to put Jared Verse in that situation, Jared Verse is the instant day one starter opposite Hutch. You know what I mean? So had that been the pick, despite Jared Verse being available, then we would be having a different conversation. So I'm kind of happy that it was made moot, null and void. We don't have to have that conversation. I'm just really upset that he went to the Rams, because I don't think a lot of, well, I can't say a lot because I don't know the pulse of the whole fan base, but there are a lot of Lions fans that don't understand that this Rams thing is now a rivalry. It's a rivalry because of the comments that Stafford made after the game when they lost. It's a rivalry because when he had months to think about how he reacted, he doubled down when he was in that interview. It's a rivalry because his wife got on there talking crazy about how she wanted closure and rip our hearts out. Closure for what? My friend. My friend. You don't get closure when you're the one that does the breaking up. You're the one that initiated. Like, your husband is the one that initiated the trade. He went to Cabo with your current coach and came back talking about he wanted out. He wanted to go to the Rams. Okay? So, we probably should have got an extra pick in that trade for tampering. You know what I mean? They should have took away another one of the Rams picks. They should have took away this pick that they had, the first pick in the first round since Jared Goff. They should have took that away and gave that to us as well for tampering with the quarterback. But that's neither here nor there. So because it was the Rams getting Jared Verse, it hurt a lot worse. Before this season, had it been Jared Verse in the draft last season and he got drafted by the Rams, I really wouldn't have cared. I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But like I said, because this is a budding rivalry, now with their fans and they're calling us dirty and, they're just being really annoying and complainy and they're just embodying Kelly Stafford as a fan base. It's like all bets are off. When Matthew Stafford comes back to Ford Field this year, boo him, boo his entire family. I don't care. I think that the thing that Kelly said about people booing the kids was crazy. No one cares about your kids enough to boo them. If anyone was booing in your direction, Kelly Stafford, it was because of you. They were not booing your children. Okay? Yeah. Boo his dog, boo his cat, boo his hamster, his gerbil, his pet praying mantis, his cockatoo. Boo everybody. The goldfish. Boo his tailor. Boo his valet. Boo his chef. You know what I mean? Boo everybody that is in the Stafford household, that works with Stafford, that has anything to do with Stafford. Boo his mom. Just boo everybody. I don't care. But yeah, so coming back with that, it hurt even worse to get to get the Jared. The Jared Goff thing, not Jared Goff. The Jared Verse thing is still a bit fresh, and I'm trying to get over it. But like I said, when I heard Terrion Arnold talking about his journey and just talking about himself and his mom and his grandfather and just how he's a dog and just his mentality and how he deals with everything, I felt really good about the pick. I feel really good about the person. And this is a guy that talks a lot. He talks a lot, and this is a guy, though, that you root for. This is a guy that you want to back it up. And we've seen him. We've seen him respond. We've seen him get benched in a game and come back better. His technique needs to be cleaned up a little bit. But I said before going into the draft that this was a very coaching-heavy draft. A lot of guys that were at the top, like those top 15 that we talked about, a lot of them needed coaching. Dallas Turner is not a complete edge. Jared Verse is a pretty complete edge. Latu is not a complete edge. He's not great against the run. And like I said, he's slight of build. So when you are getting those big backs coming around, so he's in the AFC South. So he's not going to play Lamar Jackson twice a year, but he will probably see Lamar Jackson more than we do. And I'm talking about Lamar Jackson because now they have Derrick Henry. So it's a possibility that whenever the Colts next play the Ravens, that Derrick Henry is going to be running right at Latu. Because right now, if we're talking about edges, he's the weak link as far as setting the edge and as far as being a run defender. He's giving his draft jersey away as a mentor of his high school janitor. Yeah, see, I mean, that's the kind of guy that he is, man. So, like I said, I mean, he's an extreme culture fit. He's a guy that you want to succeed. He's not a Jeff Okuda. He's not a Jeff Okuda at all. And people know how I feel about Jeff Okuda. I did not feel good about Jeff Okuda at all. I've said it on many occasions. Jeff Okuda looked like he never played football in his life. Yeah, me too. So that's the thing. So I'm okay with the pick. I'm happy with the pick. Like I said before, in his Regstraw, I did not want at 29, but tremendous value to get him at 61. When he was mocked to us, and I did some early work in the process on Ennis Regstraw. Yeah, grab your hands, run from behind, McBust Okuda chirping at the fans because you got a interception, one out of your two that you only got it because Kyler Murray threw behind DeAndre Hopkins and you were already burnt, so you were in position to catch it. So Rayshaw has to put on a bit of extra muscle and weight. Yeah, but not as much as Nate Wiggins does, But again, Nate Wiggins could have been had at 29. Because the Ravens got him. The Ravens were at 30, I believe. Yeah, so we were 29. The Ravens were 30 or 31. No, I think they were 30 because I think the 49ers were. Yeah, the 49ers for sure were 31. So, we could have stayed put and got Nate Wiggins, but again, we gave up a third this year to get Terrion Arnold. And we already know, I mean, even when we're talking about next year, when we're talking about, they're always around the ball. Now, Terrion Arnold is going to come down with it a lot more than Registrar. Registrar is a true he's a true wide receiver, or he used to be a wide receiver, but they moved him to DB because he can't catch. He's one of those types of defensive backs. But when you get your hands on the ball, you gotta take it away. And shout out to the heavyweights. I know Easy was talking about he doesn't really care about interceptions as long as you are breaking up passes and not letting them catch it. And it's like, okay, but in the Lions history, when we miss interceptions and we miss fumble recoveries, it generally leads to a score on that very drive. So we need interceptions. We need to erase that history, one, And two, I mean, if you get your hands on the ball and you take it away, that just gives your offense another opportunity to get on the field. And with our offense being so stacked, I mean, we've got the electrician Jahmyr Gibbs, we've got David Montgomery, we've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, we've got Sam Laporta, we've got JMO. And no, this isn't any particular order, but we've just got all these weapons. Now we've got Sione Vake, who is going to probably have his own packages. We've got so many options, So you take that ball away and then you trot out these guys. I don't know if you guys saw the Caleb Williams thing where when they drafted the punter in the fourth round, he texted the punter and was like, "Congratulations, or welcome to the team, but we're not going to punt too much around here." So, and hopefully, I mean, I don't care if he's right or wrong. Just hopefully when they play the Lions, he's very wrong. And that's another thing. It's just like, takeaways take off points 100% of the time. A PBU doesn't take away points 100% of the time. A PBU is only taking away points if it leads to a fourth down where they're not in field goal range. And even if they're not in field goal range, 4th and 1, 2, 3, teams are starting to go for that, So it's like, all right, if they're not in field goal range and they go for it and then you get a PBU is going to take away points, right? So it has to be a particular situation where a PBU is going to take away points. A turnover, a takeaway takes away points. It takes away possession and it takes away points. You have no opportunity to get points on that drive. So I think takeaways are much more important. Yeah, you saw that when we're not going to punt much around here. Okay, that's fine. If we're looking at the NFC North, man, okay, if the NFC North for the next few years is not the best division in football, I really don't know. You said you expect him to be a prima donna bust. I want him to be. I don't expect him to be. And that's just because, the reports are when you ask his teammates at Oklahoma and you ask his teammates at USC, people love him. You know what I mean? And even when he got drafted, the first thing that he did was talk about caring about the city and the community and his teammates. I mean, hopefully it's an act. You know what I mean? But Caleb Williams doesn't strike me as a person who's acting. He's out here painting his nails. He's out here with a pink phone and all this stuff, and it's like it doesn't seem like an act with him. So if he's trying to hide who he is, he's doing a really bad job of it. You know what I mean? As a football player, especially as a quarterback, if I like to paint my nails, which I don't, but if I like to paint my nails, I'm not displaying that in the public eye. If you're painting your nails in that position, you're doing that behind closed doors and you're taking a picture of it on your phone and then you're deleting the picture or something. Like it just doesn't, for him to be going out into the public and doing all the things that he's doing, I just don't think it's an act. So I don't think he would be a prima donna. I think the downfall of Caleb Williams will be whoever his coach, he's Bo Callahan. Whoever his quarterback coach is, an offensive coordinator, if they can't rein in the hero ball, I think that is going to be the issue. that Caleb Williams has, and that is the way that he would his downfall would happen. Also, if he comes out and immediately has like 2 or 3 good games, the Patrick Mahomes comparisons won't stop. The Patrick Mahomes crowd will get louder, and we hope that he would crack under the pressure. But as a pure talent, I am afraid of Caleb Williams. I'm not even going to lie to you. Just as a pure talent. And like I said, if those avenues that he goes down can allow him to be a bust, or to, I don't even care if he's a bust, to be quite honest with you. You know how some teams just have your number? As long as we have the Bears' number when they have Caleb Williams, I don't care. Okay? I don't care. But yeah, the NFC North is it's going to be difficult. JJ McCarthy is, again, I'm a big Michigan fan. I was not a fan of JJ McCarthy because he didn't show us anything. And obviously he was able to do some big things in big moments. But I never looked at JJ McCarthy and was like, yeah, here's a guy that's going to be a top 10 pick, he wasn't a top 10 pick. He was picked. No, he was. Wasn't he picked 10th? I think the Vikings traded up from 11 to 10 with the Jets. So he was picked 10th. So yeah, he was a top 10 pick. JJ is 2 to 3 years away at least. You know what is interesting, and my thing is, I really hope that Jared Goff plays lights out. I hope he's motivated, to take that mentality, like we're the kings of the North, and you young bucks got to get in line. I hope he takes that mentality into the offseason, into the regular season, into the postseason, into the Super Bowl. Like, I hope he takes that mentality, has that mentality. I know he's a leader of men. I know he doesn't really get flustered too easily unless you have pressure in his face. But, I need him to have that mentality, because if he doesn't, JJ is a meditating surfboard. Like, the meditation thing was weird. I always thought that was weird, just going down. But players do it. But it was obviously it was a thing that the media highlighted with him for some reason, and I don't get why they did that. It's like, well, you're trying to hype this guy up, and he's going out and meditating before games. It just makes him seem weird, because all the focus that they showed about his mental health, they paid a lot of attention to his rituals to make sure his mental health was in tip-top shape and all these things. It was just weird to me. Like, I've never seen them do that for another football player. And I'm not hating on JJ, because he was part of the team that got us the national championship. So, I don't have any problems rooting against JJ, because he's in our division, and he wasn't one of my favorite players at Michigan. This particular Michigan team, I mean, is there anybody that I wouldn't root against or have a problem rooting against? I don't think so. If you come to our division, like, it's a wrap. Hey, Danny G, what's going on, man? You can't be surprised, Danny G. Well, because look, here's the thing about the Bears. The Bears are the Philadelphia Eagles' dream team. Remember when Vince Young, Shady McCoy, all those people were on. I think Michael Vick was on the team. Vince Young was his backup, and they went 8-8 and missed the playoffs. So on paper, you have to look at what the Bears have. The Bears have Jalen Johnson, who is a top-rated corner in this league. Their safeties are good young safeties. They've got TJ Edwards and TJ Edmonds, I think. Okay. So they've got good linebackers. They've got Montez Sweat on the defensive line. Austin Booker, I think that's his name, right? He's obviously a project. But they've got a good defensive line. So that defense is nothing to shake a stick at. And that defense, last year, we were able to score points on that defense. This is just another year that defense has come together. Now, when we look on the offensive side, you've got Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore. That's a top-notch receiving core. I don't care about their running backs. I don't care about DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift is probably going to be hurt by the time we play them anyway. So I don't care about him. And then you've got Caleb Williams, who people are comparing to Patrick Mahomes. Now, I don't believe he's Patrick Mahomes. I don't believe he's as gifted as Patrick Mahomes. His talent is a step down from Patrick Mahomes, but he has Patrick Mahomes-esque traits. So this is why people are comparing him. So when you look at all of that stuff on paper, I can understand why people are afraid of the Bears. Danny Drew says, I just don't see them having an easy transition with Caleb when they have bad pass blocking. That's true. And that all is going to depend on their offensive coordinator, their offensive scheme. I think the Bears will miss Fields. Yes, their receiving core is disgusting. And they've got YAK Kings over there. And that's the thing. If you've got a bad offensive line, and this is why it's so important for the Lions to have all the cornerbacks that we have. Like, we have 50 cornerbacks on the roster now. It's very important to have all that stuff because there are going to be a lot of quick passes. They're going to play the quick game because if they can't protect him, and then that's also a bad thing for us. If you're playing the quick game, then it lets him get into a rhythm. So, it's going to be a hard offense to game plan against because they have so many weapons. Now, here's the thing. People will say, well, Rome Odunze didn't do a lot during the national championship game. Well, no, but he was in more of a spread offense. So Michael Penix was getting the ball out pretty quick, but he was also under duress. And that brings back the reason why I wanted Jared first. But again, Rome Odunze was also the top receiver. So he was going to get the most attention. Rome Odunze is now a rookie. And the proof is in Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. That's what the proof is. we know, because we've played against both of those receivers, we know the track record of Keenan Allen. We know how dangerous he actually and truly is. And I think he has some crazy stat, like every time he plays us, he's averaging like 140 plus in every game that he's played the Lions in. Now, obviously, that's over his long, illustrious career. But, you know, having someone like that come into your division, he has injury concerns. We hope that we don't see him like that. But again, so we've got those two guys, and then you throw in Rome Odunze. And because he's not going to have all of the attention, he's going to be able to eat in one-on-one matchups. And that's why it's so important for us to have a Terrion Arnold. But again, if Terrion Arnold's on I mean, if you've got interchangeably, all of those guys can play in the slot, right? So, I mean, it's just about the matchup, man. I mean, obviously, that's what the NFL is. NFL is a matchup league. But, I mean, if you're deploying a 3 wide receiver set of DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze, that's tough to deal with. Danny D says Caleb is bad at the check down throws and taking what the defense gives him, which is a bad mix with the bad pass. Yes, and that's what I was talking about, I think, before you got in here, Danny G, was if they can't rein in the hero ball, then that is going to be the downfall of Caleb Williams. If they can rein in the hero ball, though, that's the issue. Now, we have to look at them and say, well, they're the Bears, and they haven't been able to develop a quarterback in years. Like, they've never developed a quarterback. So if we look at that situation, then it's like, okay, that's the fast track. That's the fast track to the downfall of Caleb Williams. And we're just going to hope. We're going to hope that Caleb does not take the coaching. And you know what we actually have to hope? Here's the thing, and this is my idea, right? We have to hope that the coaches are just like, no, man, just be you. We don't want to change you. You know, we don't want to limit you. We don't want to put any reins on you. If they do that, then Caleb Williams is going to have a hard time. If he's having a hard time in camp, taking the check downs and things of this nature, and they're like, hey, you know, just be yourself. Yeah, that's going to help us out a lot. If he gets better at taking what the defense gives him, yeah, that's what I'm hoping that he doesn't do. You know, I hope that he just continues to play hero ball, and something, just shake his confidence, something, because he has the potential to be the man for many years to come. And generally, I mean, if it was a weak quarterback class, which I think it was 1 and 2, you know, Williams and Daniels, I think are kind of in a class of their own. And then there was the second tier. I would say that Penix is also in that class, but it's just the fact that he's also made of glass. You know what I mean? So I would put Penix as very talented. He's got a lot of arm talent. He makes very good decisions. He can read a defense, but it's just his issues with staying healthy. AG to do no nickels or dime, but he will invent the quarter defense, 8 defensive backs and 3 linemen. Well, there's already a quarter defense, so he can't invent it. 8 defensive backs. We're definitely not stopping the run with that one. Now, I mean, you do have 2 dogs in Terrion Arnold and Ennis Regstraw who have no problem tackling. Also, you have Sione Vake, who has no problem tackling. He's like a heat-seeking missile when he gets the scent, when he gets that ball in his sights. So I know you're joking, but hey, I mean, we could throw that out there and see what happens. Just play prevent defense the whole time, but you're not playing prevent. You just have prevent personnel out there. Hail Mary defense, minus the receiver. So yeah, I mean, that would be something that we could go ahead and look into if need be. But yeah, I think that the Bears are going to be an issue if Caleb Williams is able to figure things out. Again, I don't know about J.J. McCarthy. With Kevin O'Connell being a former quarterback, I don't have any problems with, or I don't have any expectations that his development won't come along well enough. I know he can't throw the out route. So let's just hope that he continues not being able to throw the out route. Yeah, just a fan. I am actually going to be getting out of here too. I only had pretty much an hour today because I have some other things that I have to do. But I appreciate everybody stopping by. Danny G, just a fan. David Barton. David Barton is always here. Shout out. So when I get big or whatever, it's going to be, shout out to David Barton. He was a day one. Danny G, just a fan. So you guys will all be day ones when I, get bigger and bigger. And like I said, hopefully this week I have some special guests coming on. I've had preliminary discussions with some people. So stay tuned. I'm going to keep going live at this time. And I will see you guys next time. Make sure that you smash that like button if you didn't smash it on the way in. Make sure you share if you didn't share on the way in. Make sure you subscribe if you didn't subscribe on the way in. And if you did all of those things, I appreciate you. And as always, until next time, peace.